Hello, beautiful souls. This is Mary, your numerologist. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be going over Life Path 8, and I will be talking about the symbolism of 8, and then for the life path, I'll talk about traits, life purpose, gifts or light side, challenges or the shadow side, and then how to develop, and then some common careers, some really good affirmations, and some celebrities who are successful 8 life paths. So before we get into this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to more numerology as well as law of attraction videos. So let's start with the symbolism. I have several good examples of the 8. It's a very powerful number. So starting with tarot, we have the Justice card, which has the Judge with a sword, and that card represents holding the sword to cut through a situation, to get to the truth, to get to the bottom of things, to face the facts instead of relying on emotion. So it's about clearing the cloud. It is also about judging through using a fair, having a fair outcome. It also represents responsibility as well as cause and effect. So it's a karmic symbol in tarot. And then moving on to astrology, I have 2 examples. The closest zodiac sign to 8, I would say, is Capricorn. And Capricorn governs the public image, social status, climbing the mountain, climbing the ladder of careers. It also represents accomplishments, practicality, being responsible, like having a lot of responsibility, having those high positions. So Capricorn is the goat who's on the quest for material success over the long run. And the second example in astrology, 10th house, which is, of course, it is equal to Capricorn too, or just, I don't know how to say that, but 10th house, Capricorn is from 10th house, or 10th house is, I'm not an astrology person. Anyway, the 10th house corresponds to Capricorn, and that represents profession, livelihood, knowledge, honor, dignity, and self-respect. So 8 life paths, they are the CEOs and warriors of numerology. Moving on to math. So we're going to look at the symbol of infinity, which is the 8 on the side, and in Latin, it comes from the word infinitus, which means eternity. That is the concept of limitless, everlasting, the cycle of life in a constant, it's cyclical. And it also represents, like in many religions, God is, or the universe is infinite. And it also represents regeneration, so like death and rebirth as well. Moving on to world religions, let's talk about Buddhism, the symbolism of 8 in it. There is the Eightfold Path, and that comes from the last of the 4 noble truths that they teach. And the last truth, or the third truth, I don't know which one it is. One of the truths is that life is suffering, and I think the last one is about the eightfold, which is about how to end that suffering, which is like right speech, right thinking, right action, right thought, etc. Moving on to Taoism. So they have this story, this mythology of 8 immortals who earned eternal life, and each of them, each character can bestow good or evil using a gift that they have, and it symbolizes their ability to transcend the limitations of human life. And then moving on to the next religion is Hinduism. So if we look at the goddess of wealth, Lakshmi, she holds a symbol of the 8-pointed star, which represents 8 types of wealth. For example, obviously there's prosperity, then there is wealth, luck, knowledge, etc. Then last symbolism, we have Judaism. So in that, they have the 8 levels of giving, or 8 levels of charity, and the 8 levels represents, I think, your awareness or your consciousness, or I guess like how good the type of charity is. For example, the 8th level is you're pained away by giving, like, oh, your parents told you it's good to give to people, just do it, like, so you're doing it out of obligation and you kind of like resent giving. That's the very bottom level. The middle level is somewhere like the 5th is giving without being asked, and the top one is helping somebody be self-sufficient. So helping other people become wealthy instead of continuously giving to them, because you're helping them develop the skills to create wealth. That's the highest. So symbolism is done. Moving on to the traits of the 8 life path. Okay, so I'll list a few. They are ambitious, goal-oriented, direct, independent, resilient, like the warriors, and responsible, wise, authoritative, discerning, which means like having good judgment, generous, and philanthropic. At work, the 8s, they value success, professional achievements, even money, power, being in charge, and they exude this air of self-confidence when they walk into a room. Like they look like they really know how to take care of themselves, and they're put together. And some of those things that they value, it sounds superficial, but it's used to serve a higher purpose. And they do enjoy the ability to provide for other people, and that's why material success is really important. They find fulfillment for providing for their loved ones or people who are in need. And so they are also drawn to the higher quality of life or really attractive possessions, such as having a nice car, nice outfit, nice appearance, good looking people to hang around. And also they are naturally business minded, and if not business minded, then their finances are extremely important to them, and that is central to their success. Their dream for 8 life paths, for many of them, it is to be their own boss, to be wealthy, to create their own rules, to never ask permission again, and to have everything they could wish for. Isn't that like everybody's wish? Well, it is most important for the 8 life path. It is central to their life purpose. Then moving on to the purpose of the 8 life path. So I'll list some titles that are correlated to the 8. They are executives, CEOs, warriors, judges, like the tarot card, and material manifestors. It's very easy for them to accumulate wealth and material possessions. So they're on the path to financial success, on trip to business, entrepreneurship, or to be a professional athlete. And they are here to own their inner power, to create abundance by their actions, and knowing how to use their influence and their status and their power to impact others or serve a higher purpose. That is their purpose. Most of their lessons can be understood through the symbol of infinity, like we mentioned before, and it's about mastering the balance between the material wealth, physical wealth, and the other side of infinity is feeling spiritually full, or just feeling full inside, like they have enough. So that's what they're here to balance. That infinity also represents karma, which is cause and effect, and it also represents the cycles of accumulation. It also represents regeneration and degeneration, and regeneration is like inclining or growing, and degenerating is just like declining or slowly dying. And of course, I'll say death and rebirth as well is what the infinity represents, like the rise of the phoenix, like 8 life paths. They can pick themselves up after falling hard on their knees. And so what is so central to them is success on their life path, which of course I'll list them again. What is in success? It involves money, power, authority, control, influence, self-worth, and recognition. And it might not always be about money, but money is a form of energy, and accumulating it and knowing how to use it. They will have tug of war with their beliefs and their attitude and relationship with money as well, like no more than any other life path. And they do often experience many failures or big failures, as well as great successes in life. So you see this very common if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner. You tend to fail a lot before you succeed, and you pick up a lot of wisdom from that. So on the 8, if they're constantly on their shadow side, they're just constantly struggling, and strife and struggle is daily life for them. So I'm going to talk about money now, the details of it. It's very much also related to self-worth as well, and how they view themselves, how they value themselves. they can see money as good or evil. So good as in to serve, to give them freedom, or evil as like there are also people who say money is the root of all evil, or they look up to really wealthy people and they say, oh, look at these people, like they don't care, they're so greedy, when they themselves, 8 Life Path wants to be rich, and they're talking down on wealthy people when that's where they want to be. Another point about money is they can be very generous with it and feel inspired to give, or they can hoard all their money and just never spend a dime of it. So before they reach to the top of the mountain of their financial success, they must come into peace with their ambitions, with their highest ambitions, and reconcile with that. And they have to really clear their fears before they achieve material success. Let's talk about power now, which also involves control and authority. So let's say, so they can experience like both spectrums of it. So if they are really owning their power, they stand firm in it. They stand up for themselves. Now the other side of power, if they resent their power, then they allow other people to disrespect them, allow other people to bully them. And with authority, they can resent that as well. For example, like acting above the law. And when it comes to control, it's knowing when to control a situation and when to step back and let go. So they just got to be really aware of abuse of power as well as greediness, or it'll be the 8 Life Paths pitfall. Now, next topic with the life purpose is like influence, which also involves recognition. So wherever they are, whatever environment, the 8 Life Paths, they feel called to influence people around them, whether that be family, friends, neighbors, or the world at large. And that could be through writing, speaking, starting a podcast, being a politician, or being an activist. They also value status and how they're recognized by society. So they also need to know that they will always be rewarded or always recognized for the service that they give to other people, instead of like shying away from that limelight. And just to explain why these are very common themes with the 8 Life Path, is it could have been related to most often childhood, which is, that's why everybody is the way they are, because of childhood. But with the 8s, they could have been living under a parent that was tyrannical, controlling, or extremely strictly religious parent, or they lacked emotional or financial support when they were younger. I'm an 8 Life Path. I could say that's pretty true for me. And besides the theme of success with them, they're also here to learn to express love and appreciation to their loved ones, which is very difficult for 8 Life Paths, because it comes from a belief that, oh, if I show this much warmth or this much connection, it's going to restrict my independence, it's going to hinder my freedom. So why would I show all this attachment to others? But they have to know that expressing warmth will only strengthen their self-confidence in relationships. As they mature from their lessons, their wisdom grows, which they naturally already possess a lot of. And they'll start relying more on their wisdom to make these decisions, because money and power, they're like big boy, big girl pants topics. And eventually they'll transcend challenges of abundance as well. So that involves going beyond the illusion of money, really understanding the nature of money, how it constantly comes and goes, how to accumulate it, when to let go, and really be in the spirit of giving. They will also understand, so I'll make this short, that they will understand that the source of their abundance is inside. It comes from inside. They're the source of it, as well as feeling fullness of spirit, or they have plenty. And then when that happens, they just stop counting their worldly achievements. Last thing I want to say is that 8s who are evolved, they use their power to empower others, as well as helping other people find their own abundance. And healthy 8s are also grateful for all their blessings. They count their blessings. They're inspired to share their generosity, or demonstrate it, to share their wisdom, demonstrate their compassion, as well as serving a higher purpose. So that is it for the purpose of 8 life path. Let's move on to the gifts or the light side of an 8. So first, they have excellent executive ability, or they're naturally business minded, which I mentioned before. That means having the ability to attract and accumulate wealth and to have such a high potential to be enormous success stories, like rags to riches. They also have a powerful strategic intellect, so they can see the top of the ladder and they see the necessary goals to achieve it. So they're also very practical in what they achieve and also tend to be efficient. If they see that this strategy is too slow, they'll know, I'll know how to make this faster, I'll know how to make this more efficient or better. Healthy 8s, they are striving towards professional accomplishments, achieving career or business success, attaining high profitability or creating it for a bigger company, and they're most impactful when they're creating wealth for other people. And that may sound like a lot of pressure, but this is the life path of an 8. And that wealth doesn't always have to involve money. It could involve wealth of wisdom, wealth of knowledge that you're giving to other people to benefit their lives. And they're in their positive when they're dedicated to their long-term dreams. So if you look at the number 4 itself, or for life path, they're here to achieve financial security. 8 is double that 4, which is lifetime wealth or financial abundance, having more than enough. So they really like to live a life of comfort or luxury. 8s are in the light when they're self-confident as well. So what does that look like? They're described as put together, disciplined, they are dependable, you can count on them. They also exude this high sense of well-being, and these qualities equip 8s to excel in higher career positions of responsibility, or like having positions of seniority. And another positive is when they're owning their inner power or inner authority, and they're using it to empower other people to enrich their lives, as well as making a positive difference. On the spiritual side of the 8 is they possess a great wisdom, it's a gift, as well as accumulating that wisdom. And that is pretty much required to deal with money or power. Another gift or light side is using discernment. So that's also a part of wisdom and making good judgments. They tend to really judge other people's character. Like they can tell if somebody could succeed in the future or not, for example, or they could tell like, oh, this person's acting like this, their behavior is just really low, I'm probably not gonna deal with them. And there's another gift is having this enormous capacity for compassion and generosity, especially when they see other people in trouble or helpless creatures. They really feel like that it brings out their warmth and their givingness. So you do see a lot of 8s as they really succeed, they become philanthropic and help other people be self-sufficient. And last one thing I want to say is regeneration is a gift of the 8, so 8 is a dual number, and regeneration is like starting over again. Basically, that's the idea of it. And they can easily reverse a mistake or a failure and redo it, and that's why they are very resilient, and that's why they're warriors. I mentioned that like 3 times already. Next, moving on to the shadow side of 8 life paths. I have a list of them. So it's better to know them, to be aware of them, so you can shed light on it and heal from that or go above it. So first thing I want to say is disappointment with your life path. Like feeling like, really? This is it? It's about money, it's about power, it's about authority, control, really? And those are 8s who think money is superficial or suspicious of it. For example, they think money is related to exploitation or unethical behavior. I will meet a few 8s from time to time who, oh, no, I'm not in any leadership positions. Like, oh, that's just a person who's not owning their power. They don't really know the positive of money from so much of what society teaches us. It's pretty negative about money. Next point, I'm going to talk about several in relation to money. So I'll also see some 8s living in deep poverty, like they're constantly struggling and trying to survive, living a life of strife and struggle on a daily basis, like it's pretty normal. And you just know that their beliefs, they've really had, it could also be like self-programming as well, believing that they really don't deserve this life that they've worked so hard for, and they end up attracting like self-sabotage or really negative effects that takes away their own power or their money. Then some 8s are born into wealth and they feel very guilty about it more than any other life paths. So on the other spectrum of money is having the issue of loving it so much, which is greed. And do you actually love money or do you love your freedom? So 8s who think they're above the law, they could really act like they're above it. So it could involve using money to, it results in money schemes, for example, being dishonest or unethical about it. It could also be saving all the money in the bank until death and never actually enjoying it. So that's from greed. It's like, it's all mine. I'm hoarding it. Like, I never have enough. Moving on to the next subject of challenges. Some don't have money problems, but they will have problems with their power, like power struggles, or avoid being recognized. And that's like being recognized for your skills or your talents and achievements. And they just think like, oh, the limelight, no, like, I don't need it. It's going to intimidate people, but it's only going to intimidate people who are not in tune with their power or who don't know their power. But they need power to be in leadership positions. On the extreme of power, they could be, they completely suppress it and they end up acting passive aggressive in order to avoid social or emotional confrontations. Then on the other side of that stream, when it comes to power, they can be overly controlling, tyrannical, threatening, and even manipulative to get their own way. When it comes to authority, 8s like making their own rules, which is a good thing. Like, I like making my own rules, but if they act resentful, then they act above authority or above the law. And the lessons that they learn from that is not so subtle. Next topic with challenges is when it comes to work. So some are so absorbed into their dreams that they're not alert or present, and they're not paying attention to the simple things or small details, like little stresses that are building up. And then they'll end up becoming accident prone while working, driving, sports, and so on. A related challenge to that is materialism. So even like spending money frivolously, or just thinking, oh, my self-worth is in all the belongings and all the attractive possessions I have. Look at my car, look at my house, that's all that matters. And just like boasting, showing off that. A few more shadow side of an 8 is, I'll point out low self-worth, which causes self-sabotage. And what I mean is, like, they could be on the verge of success, but they just end up attracting like some drama or some conflict or an accident, and then they end up acting as if they are victims, when the case is that you reap what you sow. You thought about it and you believe that you didn't deserve it. I would say that's true for me as well. Next part of challenges, let's talk about the feelings side, the spiritual side. So 8s, they're fiercely protective of their independence. If they find that somebody is restricting their freedom or their independence, they could be really cold or distant or even angry. They can end up being emotionally undemonstrative and hide their sensitivity when it comes to friendships and relationships as well, which is, it's the immature 8. They also fear people hindering their power, and they'll end up creating emotional barriers between people as well. When it comes to words, the challenge is neglecting to edit your remarks or filter what you say, because 8s do tend to be like opinionated, or they really just let people know what they think, and they're just being untactful with their words, and it ends up shocking other people when the 8s think, well, I'm just telling you the truth, like, why are you so shocked? So yeah, that's a challenge with the 8. Last thing I want to say is 8, again, is a dualistic in nature, like infinity, and in reverse, they're declining, or kind of dying in something, or just losing that growth, or really feeling, and they just keep going down and down and down. So they could be experiencing sorrow or humiliation, and if they dwell on that negativity for so long, it ends up into depression. So that is it for the challenge. Moving on to how to develop from that. So let's talk about money first. Start with confronting your beliefs about money. Like, for example, creating a T-chart, which is what I did. On the left side, write your negative beliefs about money, and on the other side is flip that and turn it into positive beliefs about money. That's really helped me see things so clearly. And also to take responsibility for your spending, like being conscious about it. Start accounting, start being financially literate, and taking responsibility for it. Next thing I want to say to develop is start seeing the bigger picture when it comes to money. So that means you could see it as, oh, I'm going to use money to help people solve their problems, to give good services, to help me achieve freedom, provide for my family, or make a positive difference in this world. And if you want to educate yourself when it comes to finances, learn from books or mentors, but especially books that teach wealth creation through science or spirituality, which is I really enjoy. And I do have some recommendations of books that really changed my life being an entrepreneur, and really increasing my self-worth and the quality of my service. So I'll mention the first book is A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Wow, quantum physics and wealth creation, that's a beautiful book. Then the next book I want to talk about is The Science of Getting Rich. So there's an exact formula on how to do that. You'll also hear a little bit about law of attraction in there. Another book that's very intense with law of attraction is Your Wish is Your Command. So it's a guy who used to be in a secret society, like powerful, wealthy secret society, and he's just showing you all the secrets of how his colleagues or whatever achieved their success, or his brothers. Then there's the book The Magic to Increase Your Gratitude, which it changed my life. I think I attracted like $2,000-$3,000 in 1 month from using those practices, those gratitude practices from the book The Magic. And they have the same author, Rhonda Byrne, who created The Secret. Then next thing I want to talk about development is, so with money, there are people who create a livelihood out of combining business with holistic healing, with personal development, with spiritual pursuits. Me, for example, I'm combining business with numerology. It's really created a positive impact for myself and every other person's life that I touch. And on the topic of abundance, you have to experience it inside first, internally. So what areas do you have plenty of? Count those blessings daily. Also focus on selfless service, and that will greatly improve your self-worth as well as decrease self-sabotage, and it will really change your life positively. And to add to that, find ways to share. And if it doesn't always have to be money, it could be your time, your energy, your heart, your wisdom, your knowledge, and that opens more doors for wealth. Next thing is, if you're creative or the entrepreneurial type, trust that abundance will flow from your creative efforts. On the topic of power, if it is suppressed, find the source of it through, I'm going to talk about martial arts. It could be a disciplined exercise. It could be from a sport, or even public speaking. So empowering other people to remember your own power. It could be any other way around as well. When it comes to work, remember to stop and smell the roses. enjoy the fruits of your labor, and also just remember who you're working so hard for. Okay. And adding to that, since 8 is karmic, just know that you always reap what you sow, and actions always equal consequences. So they go into this self-pity kind of attitude, like the victim of life, just because their actions cause, it's dramatic. And I would say keep a sense of humor when you fall into that, like watching funny movies, listening to good music, go to the spa. The point is just to let loose and laugh and let go. And next is be tactful with your words to avoid misunderstandings, because 8s tend to be misunderstood just because they just say what they want on their mind. So you can say what you want, just be careful how you say it. That's advice for me too, for my own personal experience. And then on the emotional side, give attention to your loved ones from time to time. Give appreciation and acknowledgement. That goes a long way. It's very easy for 8s to do that in the business or work setting, but remember your loved ones. You can also give love to helpless creatures too, such as animals. It could be babies, it could be the elderly, the sick, and that instantly switches from an 8 who is aloof into loving kindness. And as 8s mature, they won't feel the need to hide their sensitivity as much, and they know that you'll become happier, naturally expressing your loving feelings, and also it'll improve the confidence in your relationships. My last advice for development for 8 life paths is to travel, which they're already fond of. That's going to increase your wisdom and maturity as well. Now, moving on to an affirmation for 8 life path. I have 2, so you can repeat after me if you're an 8 life path. I always have what I need, and I'm open to receiving more. I am the source of my abundance, and there is plenty to be grateful for. Okay, so next is careers. So a lot of 8s, they could do well in positions of seniority or high responsibility. For example, CEO, so a large corporation, office manager, senior engineer, corporate lawyer, travel executive, or aircraft captains. If it comes to finances and business, they could be in banking, being a financier, an accountant, stockbroker, entrepreneur, retail owner, and manufacturer. For performance or appearance related, just because 8s, they're very conscious of their appearance. They tend to be physically attractive as well. You could be a professional athlete, a model, an actor, wedding planner, or interior designer. Or you could get involved in influencing other people or making a difference, which is being a political figure, a judge, head of nonprofit, or a senior figure in a humane organizations. Then last thing I want to talk about are famous 8s. I have Martha Stewart, Nelson Mandela, Giorgio Armani, designer, Naomi Campbell, Pablo Picasso, RuPaul, Michelangelo, Neil Armstrong, Kylie Jenner, Andrew Carnegie, Usain Bolt, Dwayne Johnson, Robin Williams, Bella Hadid, 50 Cent, Amy Winehouse, Halle Berry, Cindy Crawford, Matt Damon, and Jessica Biel. So that is it for 8 life paths. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want free birthday readings, please join my Facebook community. It's free for you to get a birth chart and timeline reading. There's already 500 members in it. So that is it. Let me know in the comments if this makes sense to you, and I will see you next time. Have a beautiful day. Bye.